top 8, although it's going to be dicey. We were very, very close to the cutoff for 9 rounds, and by very close, I mean, you know, like add a person to the tournament close.
Yeah.
So these draws are going to be very dicey. In fact, we've already seen an interesting development at Table 1. Those players are playing as opposed to drawing.
Yeah.
That means one of them at Table 1, undefeated right now, could be eliminated from top 8.
Yeah, Jacob Wilson is doing battle, and what could end up happening, as you mentioned, is that in doing battle now, and then they might not be able to draw the next round, and they could lose that one and then just be colded. But with the new play draw rule, I think that's part of the reason they're battling, is because they want to be the one seed going into the top 8.
We see Ricky getting off with a great start. Delver of Secrets on the play. Not so great when it fails to flip on turn 2, but you can't have everything.
There's no Mongoose. Now there is a Creeping Tar Pit that's going to die to a Wasteland. So a really, really good start here for Ricky.
Yeah.
If that Delver flips, things are just going to get much worse for William before they get better. So we're checking and we're brainstorming. So we're flipping.
You're sure? You don't think his hands all lands?
You know, for some reason, I just don't think that's the case.
I like to score magic based on permanence in play, and Ricky's a heavy favorite right now.
Yeah, I think he's going to add to his advantage in a minute with another land, as Lightning Bolt's going to be revealed. Turnover Insectile Aberration, at least to start by attacking. There's a fetch land, so if you do the graveyard count for Nimble Mongoose, we're up to 3.
And I'm sure he'll be getting a Volcanic Island now, turn on that Lightning Bolt.
Right now he doesn't.
Right he has nothing to bolt, but he doesn't necessarily have another land.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I don't even think he really even knows what he's playing against right now. He's seen a Creeping Tar Pit, that's it.
I think if his opponent were to wasteland him, he wouldn't even be that broken up about it. He'd probably just fling the bolt at the face on the spot. So probably just, you know, better safe than sorry. I'll go ahead and just do this now. Or does he have another play? He has a Ponder. Okay, well, there you go. It's also going to be difficult to choose how he should keep or shuffle this Ponder without knowing what's going on from his opponent. Although, if you see a Creeping Tar Pit, I think it's safe to say you assume, you know, no Stifles, no combo decks. You're probably playing against one of those fair Magicians.
Well, now he knows via Gataxian Probe. You see a Polluted Delta, a Swampanu, a Zawashite, a Flooded Strand, a Batterskull, a Brainstorm, and a Jace. What you see is a very, very slow
Yeah,
hand.
This hand is exactly what Ricky was hoping to see, like almost card for card, just a bunch of nothing that's not going to get in front of his creatures in time. That Brainstorm from William is going to have to dig him into something. He probably has to fire it in the end step now in the hopes of finding something he can do on turn 2. Just Brainstorm Fetchland's really not going to be a turn 2 that he can accept.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to just see, as you mentioned, the Brainstorm, hoping to find like a Stoneforge Mystic or just something that does anything, because right now he's getting his teeth kicked in. Excuse me, his teeth kicked in by Nimble Mongoose and Insectile Aberration as he takes 4. And next turn he could be taking 6 because there's 5 cards in the graveyard. We know Bolt's there, so that's the 6th card, and anything could be the 7th one.
All right, well, we see William exercise some discipline. He declines to end step Brainstorm. Goes ahead and fetches now. Looks like he may have found something on top of the deck if this is his line. And looks like that something is, in fact, Stoneforge Mystic.
Okay.
Now he does already have 2 equipment in his hand, but Ricky is going to force up with the Stoneforge Mystic anyway in order to prevent Batterskull from eventually coming online.
That's card 6. That's card 6 in the
graveyard. That is card 6, so virtually anything gets Ricky to Threshold. Ponder is anything. Yep. Yeah, that'll do it.
Doesn't take much for that Nimble Mongoose to get moving here.
William is now on a 2-turn clock, courtesy of the Lightning Bolt that we know Ricky still has access to.
So he's going to keep with Ponder, too. So that's got to be scary. Attack for 6. Miller's going to go down to 8. And, I mean, we've seen Rogue Delver, obviously, a lot. As here's a Delver of Secrets that's likely going to flip next turn. But this is one of the better starts I've seen from this deck in all my times of covering it. This is just a really one-sided affair.
Oh, this is what it does to me every time, so it's not so unique.
Brainstorm here from Miller is going to show him an Inquisition, I think a Liliana and a Source of Plowshares among a bunch of other cards, but he can't get those cards out of his hand fast enough.
No, he'll be able to, cast a Swords. That's not going to save him. He can cast an Inquisition, strip the Bolt. Maybe that buys him a turn, but from there, what's he untapping into, His plan in this matchup is really deploy Batterskull. Like, that's plan A. He has access to a Supreme Verdict and some Lingering Souls to both help delay the game to that point and also to, wrangle his opponent's threats. Engineered Explosives, another Wrath-like action that he has access to. But none of that stuff is currently available to him at the correct speed. He's going to start with that Inquisition, see what he's up against. We know the Lightning Bolt, and there it goes.
Just the last card, okay. So he can Swords a guy, and then he would take 6, go down to 2. I think you want to Swords, I guess, like, after the check. Okay, so that's Spell Pierce. And, like, with that on.
Yeah. Oh, there's a Spell Pierce on top of your deck. Yeah, I guess I'll fire that Swords of Plowshares right now. Good call. Agree with that decision. And William falls to 2, still in dire straits, and he knows as a result of that Spell Pierce being revealed, most of the things in his hand are not castable.
I'm like looking at his deck. You know, does he have like a Terminus somehow
in there? He has
a
single Supreme Verdict. That is the
only
card that could get him out. And yeah.
Brainstorm. He's battling on.
He is battling on. I'm not sure what he could get. He could hit Snapcaster Mage for swords, and get Spell Pierced, but that's really about it. And Ricky just shows him the Spell Pierce now, and William knows that'll cost all of the mana he could possibly use to do anything on his turn.
All right, so Ricky Sidher is going to win game number 1 here with Rug Delver over William Miller, playing Esper Stoneblade. We'll take a look at the sideboards. I'm going to let you begin, as you do have the Esper Stoneblade sideboard in front of you.
I have a pretty spicy one. It's got a lot of singletons, as have become common in these Fair Legacy decks of late. He has another Engineered Explosives. He can go up to 2 in the post-board games, and he almost certainly will in this matchup. A Singleton Duress, 2 Meddling Mage, 1 Notion Thief, 1 Humility, 2 Rest in Peace. Those are definitely coming in. A Flusterstorm, also very likely coming in. 1 Grafdigger's Cage, 1 Force of Will, 1 Disenchant, a Sword of Feast and Famine, a single Zealous Persecution, may or may not come in, and a Supreme Verdict, also definitely coming in. So I think we've got 4 cards we're 100% to board in. 4 cards we're 100% to board in. The Flusterstorm and the Zealous Persecution are kind of iffy. Maybe you can go for the Force of Will if you think that that's good in the Rug Delver matchup. I'm not really a huge fan of it personally. And moving into his main deck, I think he's going to want to probably shave some of his more expensive cards. He doesn't really need as many Jaces. He has 3. His Vendilion Clicks are okay, not exceptional. Probably not. Doesn't want to go heavy on those discard spells. They're a little weak. Liliana the Veil can answer Nimble Mongoose, but I think because he has access to Engineered Explosives and Supreme Verdict ×2 of each post board, he probably doesn't want to lean on the Planeswalker, as she's one of the most vulnerable hits for days in Spell Pierce.
As far as what Sidher's got going on here, he's got 2 Rough Tumbles, an Ancient Grudge, a Grafdigger's Cage, 1 Flusterstorm, 3 Submerge, a Vendilion Click, 2 True Name Nemesis, 2 Pyroblast, a Sulfur Elemental, and a Life from the Loam. Quick analysis here. I mean, Ancient Grudge is an easy one to want to sideboard in. Vendilion Click is okay. Pyroblast is okay. Sulfur Elemental is actually pretty good because there's 2 Lingering Souls hanging out, but he didn't see Lingering Souls. A lot of people have moved away from Lingering Souls, so I don't know if he's going to bring that in. But the interesting card here to me is True Name Nemesis. For a couple of reasons. Obviously, True Name Nemesis is great in these fair matchups, but to see this in the sideboard of a Rug deck is a little different, because this isn't a deck that doesn't really get to 3 lands very often. But I mean, they have had 3 mana spells in their sideboard before. They have had Sulphuric Vortex. They've had obviously Sulfur Elemental. How do you feel about True Name in the sideboard of this deck as a tool to use?
I know I read recently in an article actually discussing True Name Nemesis that, you know, it can be a problem for Rug decks, but paraphrasing the article, it was, you know, Rug can just jam True Names of its own in, and that's not actually true. A lot of the decks that have adopted True Name Nemesis, it was a pretty natural fit because those decks were already designed to play 3-drops. You think about Owen's GP winning deck, that deck already played Geist of St. Trapt or Vendilion Click beforehand, natural fit for True Name Nemesis. You think about Esper Deathblade, same deal. Rug Delver, that's not what they're down for. They run like their 1 Sulfuric Vortex in the sideboard, and that's it. They're clocking out. So to see True Name Nemesis in the sideboard definitely is a little bit unique. I kind of am willing to trust that Ricky knows what he's going on with these True Name Nemesis. Probably boards them in very specifically. He does also have access to that Singleton Life from the Loam that can obviously, you know, make getting enough lands in play to cast True Name Nemesis a lot easier in the Rug matchup. So that's kind of what I think might be going on. He's playing it as a tool for, you know, these Delver mirrors, and he's going to bring in Life from the Loam anyway, be fighting about mana anyway. That's when he can actually make his mana more valuable to him. Here, I'm a little less excited, but I imagine it's a fine card. It does, like Nimble Mongoose, merit a Supreme Verdict or a particularly tricky Liliana. So,
yeah. I'll be interested to see if he does bring it in, again, because, like, you know, this is the kind of matchup that he would want it for. We're in a fair matchup,
right?
For the most part. So if the game does go longer, it does give him a way to actually win a game that does go longer, which is what I think Miller wants to accomplish anyway. So, I mean, I don't know.
If he's looking for cards to board out, I think it's a fine one to bring in. Like, if he thinks the card is actively bad in the matchup, then boarding in a 3/1 unkillable is not bad as far as replacement cards go.
Yeah.
But, you know, is his main deck going to need that kind of overhaul?
Let's see what he's got here. We got a Thoughtseize. He's going to show you a Pyroblast, a Lightning Bolt, a Delver, a Tarmogoyf, a Daze, a Wasteland, and a Misty Rainforest. So pretty good keep, obviously, without a cantrip type card, but so far so good for Sidher.
Delver Daze with a Wasteland to follow is one of the marquee starts for Rug Delver. I am a little surprised to see Pyroblast. That's not typically a card I imagine a lot of people boarding in against Esper Stoneblade. It's possible that Ricky is expecting True Name Nemesis from his opponent.
Okay.
Has boarded in Pyroblast in expectation of that. However, what he doesn't know, William Miller, no True Name Nemesis in the 75.
Sidher. He does have Jace, but
Does have
Jace
Jace.
isn't great in this matchup.
Yeah, if you think about the blue cards that are in the deck, it's like Snapcaster Mage, which is a pretty good hit for Reb, Vendilion Click, kind of mediocre, and then there's Brainstorm, Spell Pierce, Ponder, Jace, Force of Will. Those are the only other cards you can really hit. So not an exciting card in the matchup. It hits a lot of cards that you're mostly letting resolve anyway. So I really feel like Ricky probably boarded it in anticipating True Name Nemesis specifically.
Sidher fires off the Wasteland here, and in the upkeep, Miller is going to sacrifice his fetch land. I was wondering when he was going to do that because leaving it there is a little bit dangerous because of Stifle. So the fact that he did it now is actually smart.
And he fetches a basic land to help deter future Wastelands. Yep. Try and build that mana base.
Sidher just goes for the Wasteland on turn 1, where he could have just played the Misty and just passed the turn back, leave bolts up, have access to days, that sort of thing. But yeah, maybe William just kept like kind of a slower hand and just tried to go for it with the old Wasteland.
And now we see turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic right into the daze or bolt that William knows is there. Ricky, no doubt, a little wary of that particular proposition. He's like, this is going to happen. He didn't even have an additional land in his hand when William thought seized him. So, Ricky's possibly not even losing anything by picking up his land here. If he doesn't draw a land on this turn or on the previous turn, it was a free roll.
See what spell he has.
Imagine he's floating mana and dazing. The real question is whether he floated red or blue out of morbid curiosity. But it works, so it doesn't matter.
Well, Daze resolves, takes care of the Stoneforge. Volcanic Island gets played past the turn back. Miller has another Stoneforge in his hand. Just drew a Lingering Souls, too. So Stoneforge is going to come into play. Force of Will says, no, you're not. Remove True Name Nemesis, a card that we thought he was going to bring in, and he did.
Yep. Force Bait is one of the roles True Name Nemesis frequently plays out of these Delver decks. As you know, when they can cast it, it's very powerful. When they can't, it is a liability.
Is it cantrip time? It is. It's the best one, Brainstorm.
Brainstorming when you're stuck on one land always has that sweat to it.
Yeah.
If you don't find a land or you don't find a ponder or you don't find a fetch specifically, you know that you might just be locked. So we'll have to see if Ricky found a way to escape his top 2 cards.
He's placed 2 back. He has
Misty Rainforest.
He's doing okay. So Tropical Island's going to be the card that he finds. Now, Miller did not play land last turn. You see 2 copies of Lingering Souls. He also has a Brainstorm and then a Liliana Veil that he is a long way away from casting.
One of the reasons I like boarding out some Lilianas in this matchup is because you have to fetch these basic lands to dodge Wasteland, and that makes Liliana all the harder to cast. You see, in order to curve out into turn 2, well, not turn 2, turn 3, I should say, Stoneforge Mystic, he had to go for Island Plains. That naturally makes Liliana very difficult to play.
Yep.
Ricky Jataxian Probe sees what's going on, sees that it's really not much threat.
2 copies of Lingering Souls. There's the Liliana, there's the Brainstorm. As I did mention, Probe will draw Sidher a card. We'll see if he has no Mongoose or a Delver. He does have the Goose. It is loose, officially.
Oh, yeah. Goose on the loose, and William, once more in trouble, goes for a Brainstorm. If his doesn't find a land, he'll be in a really bad spot. Academy Ruins, very close to not a land, but I'll take it.
Yeah,
That's about as close as you can get.
That is a land, but it is it's not the best.
It's the worst land he could have drawn by a mile, but it will enable him to untap into Lingering Souls next turn and not go without a land drop this turn.
If we do have a third and final gamer between these 2 players, I can almost bet you that during the sideboarding process, Sidher is going to go reaching immediately. Now that he's seen Lingering Souls, go grab that Sulfur Elemental that's hiding in his sideboard. I'd be very surprised if he did board, didn't have the foresight to do that, as he's going to attack for 3.
I think I kind of like boarding in Sulfur Elemental against these decks anyway, especially if you expect Supreme Verdict. It's pretty unlikely they both don't have Lingering Souls and don't have Supreme Verdict when they're playing these Esper decks. And Sulfur Elemental is actually a pretty reasonable threat just as a flash dude. They Verdict, you just get him in, get him down for some damage.
Yeah. Source of Plowshare is going to target that Tarmogoyf on the instep. Tarmogoyf is going to go bye-bye, so some life will be gained here for Sidher, and he's going to try to ride this Mongoose all the way home, but some Lingering Souls are going to start to get in the way.
Yep.
Interesting thing here is if he has a counterspell, he could actually reason in countering this because Miller doesn't have the black mana to flash back right now.
Yeah, he's also converting counterspells into damage, which, you got to keep in mind. At the end of the day, they start with 20 life points, and your job is to get them to 0. That's all that matters. Things like flashback and buyback and cantrips, none of those aren't part of the rules. anything that gets him closer to 0, fair game.
Yeah. Brainstorm here is how Ricky's going to start his turn.
He's still holding on to that Pyroblast. We see him sandbagging it. Likely, maybe wishes he'd had the ability to fire it off on that Brainstorm and perhaps keep William from ever having dug out of the situation he was in.
Yeah, I think he would have fired off on Brainstorm if he could have.
Yeah. At a minimum, he knows that William has not developed especially well since that Brainstorm. He's seen William's turn since. Not great, so he knows that William's still struggling. If William were to cast another cantrip, say the Ponder in his hand, Ricky's probably going to be pretty tempted to go ahead and just counter it on the spot.
And for 3 we go.
Interesting that William declines to chump block here when he has a Supreme Verdict in his hand. I would think getting my life total high enough when I know those tokens are probably going to vanish one way or another, probably a priority.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but whenever I cover this Rug Delver deck, I normally get their opponent within double bolt range, and they're always just kind of hoping to top deck that last bolt to get the job done. So I could see maybe that attack that he let through could come back to hurt him here as Wasteland takes care of Academy Ruins. You said it was one of the worst lands you could draw, arguably the worst. So that's another reason why.
Yep.
So now Ponder. Yeah, that's definitely getting countered.
Blasted.
Yeah.
I don't even know if a Synapse fired. I can't be sure if it was just an involuntary seizure upon sight.
That thing could not get countered fast enough. Here's a Ponder of Sidher's own. And this is a immediate shuffle.
Yeah. Textless promo Ponders have a higher percentage of resolving, as this match demonstrates.
That's true.
It's fact.
Yeah. Actual factual. All right, so let's see what's in the mystery box.
Another reason perhaps William declined to block was he was hoping to gang up on the Nimble Mongoose with 4 Lingering Souls tokens on the next turn, avoiding losing one to a Bolt and still being able to kill the Mongoose should it swing. So that's a reasonable incentive to making the attack that we didn't consider at the time.
Chump block this go around from the Spirit token.
Yeah, now we're definitely in chump mode.
Batter Skull.
Perfect.
Man, one of the poorer draws for him here.
Yeah, William's cards have definitely come in untimely ways in this match.
But that's going to get loose again.
One of the tricky things with this deck. You need things to come together in a more timely fashion. One of the strengths of Rug Delver is, well, pretty much everything just costs 1 mana, so whatever order it comes in, you just kind of figure out the best way to cast it.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a puzzle, but it's only got so many pieces.
What's he draw this time? Jace. Boy. The cards in his hand are really powerful, I will say that.
They are powerful magic. That's why they cost so much mana.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. If they were any cheaper, they'd be banned. So Sidher's going to sacrifice his fetch land here to get a volcanic island. Maybe he has an end of turn effect?
He'd certainly be favoring more red sources, especially when he has access to Pyroblast and Lightning Bolt in post-board games. It's not really a heavy incentive to get additional tropical islands. And he does have a Enduring Click to earn
that is a fast concession there. So Ricky Sidher is going to win this match 2-0 over William Miller. He moves on to 5-1-1. And with any luck, he wins the next round. We may be seeing him in the top 8, depending on how the breaks go.
It's possible. He is technically in top 8 contention. I wouldn't call him a favorite at this stage, but you know his name is in the mix.
Don't forget, he's already hoisted a trophy once this year. Again, Los Angeles just
playing Legacy, playing this deck. He was playing Jacob Wilson's exact 75 in that tournament, I believe, from the Seattle Legacy Open that Jacob Wilson himself won. Curiously enough, I believe Jacob Wilson has switched off from Rug Delver and is on Blue-White Red Delver, correct?
He is on Blue-White-Red, yes, he is. We covered him once already, and you know, it was pretty surprising to Patrick and I when I found out we were covering Jacob. I was like, okay, so Rug Delver versus, and it's like, oh, actually, no, it's not.
Very interesting to me to see that Jacob has shifted off of Rug Delver, a deck he's known for playing, has played to much success
Grand Prix
in past years. Yeah.